Hello, my name is Ryan Grant. I am at Digital Contract Design, and Digital Contract Design makes a variety of open source libraries and products. Um, this talk is about self-custody and how key distribution is really critical for that. So let's begin. In the beginning, everything is fine. And in fact, we're new to Bitcoin. Maybe the custodian is doing a better job than I could. But unfortunately, and this will be true for all the red slides, there's something deeply wrong with that. So the problem with custodians is that it's essentially the paper gold problem. Paper gold has a long history. It's kind of the way we got banks. It solves the real problem. The real problem is physical security, and we'll get into that later. Probably the worst attack on gold was Executive Order 6102 in 1933, which you're all very familiar with. And you know they continue. There's a lawsuit in 2007 against I think Morgan Stanley for saying that they were holding gold and that you could take delivery, but not actually being able to take delivery. So it's a first world problem. And in the paper gold category, I would also add MicroStrategy. And anyone who's relying on them is really hurting what Bitcoin is and our ability to control the protocol and to vote for ourselves, because it's the economic majority that matters. Okay, old stuff. So now I run my own node. Okay, and I'm good at it, and everything's good, and I have seed words, and it's simple. Life is simple with seed words. In fact, I've got a 25th seed word, right? This protocol, pretty dangerous. That seed word is not on a list. Which wallets allow you to recover it, or prompt you the right way, or give you some way to remember that you had a 25th seed word. These are problems. Okay, so now I standardize, right? But I still have a single point of failure. And gradually, caring about this single point of failure becomes more and more important. When I was talking about this talk, somebody told me that their daughter just dropped her phone in Puget Sound yesterday, and that was 2 days ago. So you think, no, that's not my problem. I'm an Uber geek. I've got my setup, and it's really good. But there's something more. It's not just you that can solve this problem for yourself. The thesis of this talk is that your digital security requires other people to have great ease of use. Okay, and now I'm going to divert into meat space for a moment and say some basic stuff again. What can people handle? Well, you probably know the trifecta. There's something you know, there's something you have, and something you are. There's a little more than that now. How about someone who knows you? That usually doesn't show up on the list. What about a time delay? We love that in Bitcoin. Or if you're getting really advanced, what about intentional self-inflicted border control checkpoints? That's a unique one, but it's a thing you can create in meat space. And this is getting into meat space safety. And we can go back to gold and ask, what makes gold safe? And the answer is, it's not really great. It's like warehouses and, expensive professionals and guns and the fact that it's atomically indestructible and, secrets and where things are. And this is scary. This is pretty scary. So more scary stuff for Bitcoin when normies look at Bitcoin include highly technical scams, questioning inflation itself. Like they'd rather take the inflation than deal with like these other questions. And the wrench attack is the classic. So what did fiat do? Why was it better than gold? Why do we have it? And one answer is, well, the feds can scare off the villains. It's just a matter of who's supporting things. But there are other answers. And I think you'll find one of the best answers is one of the worst things in Bitcoin: rollbacks. I don't know how many of you, some of you probably remember the era of database rollbacks. We've had plenty. That was on the exchanges, that was on centralized exchanges, that was part of the get your coins off the exchange lessons. But one of my theses is that in the fiat realm, a rollback is good. It's helpful. It's a tool for generating physical security. And the reason is a criminal has to do more than merely get you to send them money from bank to bank, fiat from bank to bank. They have to get it out of the country. They have to get it into an international system where there are no rollbacks. I think the Malaysian bank was MDB1. They got money rolled back from that. Not all of it, but I think a couple $100 million. So very effective. We have a lot of work to do to design a world that can compete with this for safety. That is hard work. And I want you to be thinking about that when I get back to people dropping their phones in a lake. Because that same math that gets us out of that problem can improve our response and give us something that's it's this fault or that fault, or it adds this math or that math. But again, I'm going in a slightly I'm focused in this talk on key distribution. So yeah, we've got the math. When the math doesn't work, we don't know what we should have designed. We kind of don't have the market incentives to learn about these things correctly. The set of entities that does have these incentives is frighteningly small, and some of it's proprietary. Well, and I'll get into a couple non-proprietary examples, but we have a problem when the math is stifled. We're not learning at the right rate. So we don't know what we're missing out on. What do we have? Well, chip makers want us to trust them. They've got an answer. It's the Enclave, the TEE. And it can be part of the answer. It can be part of the answer. Unfortunately, intrusion detection has a knowledge problem. When somebody's in your computer, you don't necessarily know. So that's a limit on that. Okay. When we combine the MeatSpace tools that we have with these other computer tools, we can make progress. We can design something better. Another tool that we have is Shamir's secret sharing. Some good work has been done here through the Rebooting Web of Trust conference series. I don't recall the exact year, maybe 2017 or 18. A couple papers came out of a Barcelona conference there, and that helps. So problems with Shamirs is that there's a lot of ways to do it. And you begin asking, okay, well, what's my recovery protocol? Like which I've got this data sitting around. What do I do with it? What's my rules? Trezor released Slip 39. They did a nice job learning from some of that work, and perhaps we're doing implementation before the conference as well that I mentioned in Barcelona. But they came up with a 2-level Shamir, so you can say, I not only require 3 out of 5 over in this group, but I also require separately 3 out of 5 in this group. And the 2 groups, or n groups, I require 2 out of 3 of those groups to come together. The math there generalizes. People haven't generalized it and built it into a product that I'm aware of, but there are tools. Blockchain Commons makes one of those tools. So, are we done? No. Trezor has a weird word list. It's a protocol, but it of all the things to, they were there first, but of all the things to not centralize on, they didn't centralize on the word list. That's scary. Another problem with Shamirs is that assembly must occur on one computer. So, back to a single point of failure. Specifically regarding exfiltration. Okay. So now we're back to this question, what's my recovery protocol? But again, I want to push you out of that. It's not necessarily only your problem. Inheritance comes into play. So really, what's the recovery protocol that you're going to ask people who don't have 80,000 hours of Bitcoin, knowledge seeping in? People who don't have that, how are they going to follow this? Okay, maybe you maintain your own complex recovery scheme. Okay, that's something Bitcoiners tend to do, when they put the effort in. So questions here are, how do you communicate shards? What do you do when somebody needs to update a shard? When somebody needs to update their side of how you communicate with them. They want to update a key. Well, we already have BGP, right? Done. There's so many ways to be done and stop thinking about this. It's great. Okay, but what server do I trust to update my BGP key? Oh, yeah. The ones I used to use are literally offline. There was a day when I wanted to go use PGP and I was like, oh yeah, I need to go learn something about some new centralized server in order to use my decentralized key. So this question is something that started a bigger movement called decentralized identity. And decentralized identity is going through a standards process in the W3C. It has been very painful, a very long process. I have been involved in it since 2016, and I want those hours of my life back. Yeah. But we've made progress. There's stuff going on. There are existing implementations of decentralized identity out in the real world, and you can go to convenience stores and use a wallet built on an open protocol and an open standard, and several closed nodes, and that's not several closed nodes, but a smaller set of nodes than I would prefer. And you can get, they can check your ID, check your age, without you handing over an ID with all your personal information on it. They don't need to know where you live. They don't need to know exactly when you were born. They don't need to know those numbers. So these are some of the things decentralized identity gets at. It's a way to improve the privacy that you can retain, while also offering the information that someone needs. So in that wallet, there is a biometric. There's a picture, and it's linked with a signature and verifiable credentials, and someone can figure out that, okay, you're over 21, you can buy this alcohol. I'm not sure exactly which states that's in right now, but it's out there. Okay. I'm not trying to pitch you on that bigger ecosystem. There are problems with that ecosystem. One of the biggest problems, Christopher Allen, somebody early in the space, named legally enabled identity, or legally enabled self-sovereignty, maybe, acronym LESS. Bitcoiners won't want to integrate with every aspect of that ecosystem, and nothing that I'm working on requires you to. There's ways to benefit from some aspects of that standardization without buying into the directions that large conglomerates of governments want you to go in. What are some other efforts that try and do a better job with custody? Bitkey's new. Bitkey is good work. It's good work. It's not perfect. It's for the masses. It's no configuration allowed. And, right now it's tied to that wallet. You've got to love that wallet. It is a cosigner scheme with a special piece of hardware and special servers. And here we are with an AWS Nitro moment. That's a little hard, though, to connect you and AWS Nitro. That's a very abstract thing out there. And connecting you with that when you're not saying, I'm taking care of my keys, and here's my AWS key, and this is why I should have access to that Nitro instance. Making that connection between MeatSpace and Nitro, that's weird, but they try and do it. And they have a scheme that does something with it. But as a result, they rely on SMS and email. And I'm sure you're all aware of how many people have been hacked through SMS, how many hundreds of millions in digital currencies have been stolen through SMS hacks and email. They aren't susceptible to the same kinds of attacks that an immediate SMS hijack would provide. So they have a delay and notify scheme that lasts 7 days. So you have to keep someone away from recovering their own SMS or seeing their email or opening the app on their phone and connecting and seeing a notification there for 7 days. Has anybody here been offline for more than 7 days in the last 5 years? Wow. Okay, well, we got one. All right. So this service is not for you. Um, you probably already knew that. Um, delay and notify would, if it was attacked, it would be through a scam. The scam would make it seem like you still have your phone. There would be a middleman. There would be, you'd still be getting most of your email, but this particular email would be deleted. Um, maybe, you know, maybe it requires you to have your phone stolen. If you're targeted, there's maybe a way to set that up and you're like, oh, of course I can't get my phone yet, but thank God I just lost my pictures or, a day of backups. Um, in BitKey's own words, the attack to steal funds sounds very complicated. They gloss over quite a lot in the middle of this explanation when they say you need a new BitKey hardware device. That's back to burying your gold in the backyard, right? I mean, you got to keep that thing really safe in order for the attack to be this hard. So does that mean like you never go swimming? Does that mean you swim with it? Sir, I have swum with a hardware device before. The big problem there is also that BitKey will mail out a new hardware key. So there's another avenue of attack, which means in order to move someone else's funds on BitKey, the attackers must hack a cloud account, yes, intercept communication for 7 days or steal a phone, and trick one recovery contact and intercept one physical device, or steal it. And that's the scheme, and you don't get to change it. So that's still the best we have for most people. That is a big advancement. And I don't want to say don't use BitKey. I want to say we want better, and as developers, we should be thinking about this. Again, I'm asking what happens when that recovery contact drops their phone in the lake. Do they, does BitKey help them communicate the new key to you? Does that mean there's another entry in a server somewhere saying who your recovery contact is? Or does that mean you don't have a recovery contact for a while? How do you find out that you don't have a recovery contact? Does the app tell you? I don't know these things. It's complicated. So now we're right in the middle of key distribution. And this is a short talk, so I'm not gonna bore you with implementation details. But I do want to say that this is it. You want to get keys to people who agree to work with you in order for you to use your Bitcoins in a disaster. I didn't preach against brain wallets, but I will preach against brain wallets. I have hit my head in a car accident more than 5 times. I was not driving in all of those, but car accidents they happen, It's a risk that can happen to anyone. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about DID BTC1. And here's a pitch. DID BTC1 is an identity that you can anchor on the Bitcoin blockchain. You don't need any shitcoins whatsoever. You can use your existing seed words if you want to anchor your identity. And what we're working on is helping you get this identity out to, get this capability for identity out to other people so that you can arrange keys with them. They can replace their keys when they need to. Like I said, we've been working on this for a long time. A previous version was called did-btcr. It was very simple. It put a URL in the op return. So your URL can't be too long. There's some problems with keeping your URL online, with whether it's changing, how to verify what that is. In the decentralized identity world, different methods for decentralized identity have their own specifications. So it's kind of a master protocol and sub-protocols underneath it. A little bit like URL schemes. BTCR required 1 Bitcoin transaction per update of your location or your document. BTCR did allow you to post just a hash and then say, go find that on IPFS. IPFS, you know the document's not changing, but you still don't know if it's going to be online. There are also problems if something goes offline in that scheme. You have to, it's kind of your responsibility if you're maintaining your identity to keep prior variants online so that someone can update through the versions that you've posted to the new version of your identity. This identity is it is represented in a did document. The did document is a variant of JSON called JSON LD. The LD just means it can be canonicalized using a specification. And you can put whatever you want in there. The main thing you want to put in there is key material and endpoints. And the entire point here is if somebody drops their phone in the lake, they're going to need new key material. And they're going to have to find a way to contact you, and maybe you've got to find a way to contact them. The way you have to contact them is their previous key. And in the old schemes. But the DID need not change. So you can keep the identifier and rotate the key material by updating the did document. That's the main idea behind decentralized identity. Other things you can put in that did document are endpoints. So go to my server, find me there. Handles. What is your email address? What is your phone number? And the goal here is to really be decentralized, to not need to rent any of those. But we all have rented identifiers. If I don't pay somebody every month, certain identifiers go away. That is the corporate world we live in. And if I piss off the wrong tech giant, certain other currently free, but maybe not forever, identifiers go away. So all of these are kind of the risks and the solutions that we have right now. I'm not going to get too far into the details of BTC1, but we found a way to aggregate a large number of transactions into one Bitcoin transaction, a large number of did updates into one Bitcoin transaction. So we are super efficient on the blockchain, basically as efficient as open timestamps. If you are vehemently against the wastage of open timestamps, okay, you can complain about this. Basically, for everybody else, this is not something you can complain about. And th- that took a lot of work. Took a long time to figure out, and uh, we defended the standards in the meantime as well. People wanted to, companies wanted to water down what decentralized identity is, and they want to do that because large companies own identities. That is their monopoly. So we fought them off in public. All right. So hopefully I've talked persuasively about why key distribution is in fact like the core part of the user experience that we need to be working on. We are working on that over at DCD. We are hiring. We write cross-platform applications and we release libraries. And if we can find the right people, we will release libraries for other people's wallets. We do not have that level of capacity right now, managerial capacity, but we have the initiative started and we want to do this. The BTC1 implementations are coming in on Rust, Python, TypeScript, and Java right now. And we want to put more effort on C++, and we need to put more effort on Python. That's a lot of work. That's different people. We don't have all those people right now, and if you are interested, send me email. Point me at your GitHub. I love reviewing code. The more ancient the code, the more I love reviewing it. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm ready for code written in 2025 and the flood of that. I'm not guaranteeing I can read all of that. Okay, didBTC1 is available at this URL, and that's the same URL over here. If you just go over to GitHub DCDPR, you'll find all the other things we're working on. I should also pitch a local first tax software for Bitcoiners. It traces UTXOs through your wallets and your exchanges. Would love to get more data to add more exchanges to that. Look around. We also do some machine learning stuff. That's a newer initiative, and we are looking for someone to lead the brains of that. And with that, I will open it up to any questions about the importance of self-custody or specifics about didBTC1. That's it.
Earlier, talking about people using IPFS for the DidDoc storage locations.
Yeah.
Has anyone, because maybe like Sats or fee rate goes low, they're using Bitcoin for their native storage of the docs, or is that inappropriate and would piss off Luke or something?
No, it's a use of Bitcoin. A use of Bitcoin is totally legit.
No, but are you seeing anyone use the Bitcoin blockchain natively for DidDoc storage?
There are DID methods that have proposed that, and we strongly steered away from that ourselves. It is a way to, I think it's maybe didBTC from MicroStrategy proposed that, but they later dropped that DID method. It's permanent, but I think what you actually want to do is you want to have some aspects of your life public, and you want to have some private. And so for BTC1, one of the strongest things we explored is what can we do off-chain and what can we keep private? And we took that all the way to exchanging the DID documents privately so that verification can be done by an entity once the data is exchanged out of band. The entity can verify the hashes and that all the updates are clean and that they're all there. And the idea that all the updates are there, by the way, that's a feature that we call non-repudiation, and it's something that we uniquely do. So, so we really pushed being off-chain and exchanging data out of band.
Okay, another question. You're making it sound like y'all use a Merkle tree for aggregating DID updates.
We do.
What's the provider of the Merkle proof, or I mean, is that kind of centralized with a federation of servers that help you find those Merkle proofs, or how does that work? Or is that completely published somewhere? What does that look like?
Right. So the protocol says that you find the addresses that are publishing the Merkle proofs from the DID from an initial DID document. I hand you an initial DID document. My DID is hashed to that document, so it's the initial thing I hand you didn't change. Otherwise, I'd have a different DID. And then that says where to find the Merkle proofs.
So it's just for sequencing. It's like for sequencing. It's not for distribution. It's like I'm anchored at this block height.
Correct. We said it's the holder's responsibility, the controller's responsibility to deliver the set of data. We call it sidecar data because it's like a motorcycle sidecar. You got the main idea, and then you've got like this bundle of stuff you're delivering. And we say you can deliver the sidecar data out of band, and it will include all of these DID documents, the update proofs, the new DID versions of the various DID documents, etc. And that includes every branch in the Merkle trees that need to be proved. Now, that's inconvenient. So we expect a marketplace to come up with various levels of privacy and public data. And some people will prefer to publish public updates for what is a public identity. And that can occur at an aggregator using a slightly different method, or an aggregator using the same sparse Merkle method, but that says part of our service is providing all the sidecar data. Okay? So we said that's a business function. Some people want it, some people don't. We don't put it in the protocol.
Anyone else have anything? Or?
All right.